Thanks for listening to The Special Lists, presented by Referral Lab, the podcast for dentists and dental specialists. All right. Thank you and welcome to another episode of The Special Lists. I am here with my co-host, as always, Dr. Michael Seda.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Cameron Full.
Bringing it down.
And I am Jason Suyas. We are fortunate enough this evening to welcome Geri Gottlieb as our guest.
Hello.
Geri Gottlieb is the founder of GG Practice Coaching and Development and has spent more than 3 decades helping dental practices grow stronger teams, healthier cultures, and more sustainable businesses. Before becoming a coach and speaker, Geri worked in and then owned and operated 2 successful periodontal practices with her husband, giving her firsthand insight into the real challenges dentists face every day. Today, the real deal. This is real world experience that we're talking about here.
Real life.
That's right. Today, she works with dentists and specialists across the country, helping them bridge the gap between clinical excellence and leadership. Please help me welcome Geri Gottlieb.
Woo! Woohoo! Geri.
Thanks, Geri. We're so glad to have you here.
Gigi,
I'm
for
so
coming
glad to
on the
be
show.
here.
Tell us a little bit, before we get too far into your list, tell us a little bit about that real world experience. How does that make you a better coach because you've lived it?
Well, I think you just answered it, because I lived it, right? So before I went into practice ownership, I had already started stepping into that coach consulting arena. And with a mindset and a belief system that I knew all the things about all the things. And that you all, practice owners, dentists, were easy. I don't know what's wrong with those people. I can tell them all the things that are wrong, and I can tell them all the things they need to do. And I thought I was pretty good.
And then what happened?
And then I stepped into ownership shoes.
And then
I stepped into ownership shoes and honestly had a pretty rude awakening. And what I discovered was that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know what I thought I knew. Being a dentist and being a practice owner and the practitioner is really freaking hard. And the expectations that we as team, we as office managers, we as patients have of doctor owners and how they should, could, why don't they, what's wrong with them about practice ownership, it's a little bit unfair. And so I think for me, what it did was it married the years of experience and drive, the education, the continual learning that I have with real life. But it's actually not what I thought it was. And my husband is an amazing clinician, and my husband loves his patients, and my husband loves his team. He happens to also be a specialist, so he also has to love his referring doctor base. And all of that is super heavy to carry around in your backpack. And so if we can build teams around the doctor owners, super strong, and relieve some of that out of their backpack, then that was the mission I was going to be on going forward from there as a practice coach.
When you had that realization of, oh my God, I don't know what I thought I knew, and I don't even know what I don't know how did you take the first leaps to get help for yourself?
Oh, great question, Jason. The first thing was I sought to find mentors and educators who also had been through that same path.
Sure.
Right, that I had. And in addition, I sought outside counsel too. So I wanted different perspectives, right? The real big perspective, people who knew nothing about it and people who knew lots about it because they'd also traveled that path. And I made a ton of mistakes. A ton,
it's the best
right?
teacher.
I mean, what happened 15 years ago is not the same coach that I am now, or the same business owner now owning a business of my very own for the last 7 years. So
the school of hard knocks and finding mentorship has been a very common theme on many of our episodes, right? And it's not always, dentists feel pretty isolated, I think, a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And especially when they don't practice with in a group practice and things like that, they get, and again, a common theme that's come up frequently in our podcast that's talked about. Where did you go to find those mentors?
Well, that's also a good question. Part of it was from professors and things I knew from college. Part of it was honestly, therapists that I also worked with and had been introduced to even within the dental industry.
Mm-hmm.
I went to other coaches and consultants. I started off in coaching on my own, and Geri Gottlieb out there in the world, until I realized, oh, that's also hard. And so I started by going to work for a larger consulting company for 5 years while I was still in practice ownership, still taking all the CE, but not having to carry the weight of having my own business.
We are back.
We are back after a slight technical difficulty.
Okay,
but
so where in the hell were we at?
We were actually just transitioning to Geri's list. She gave us a fantastic intro. And we were just transitioning to the list that we were trying to get into of what the things are to talk about. And the first one on Geri's list is dentistry is a team sport.
Yeah.
So tell us
podcasting.
So is podcasting. Thank goodness we have a team.
Yes, thank goodness. Thank goodness. So tell us what, Jason?
Tell us what that means to you. I mean, I've seen your lecture. I wholeheartedly agree with you. It's a fabulous lecture that you give, and tell us what that means to you.
What it means to me is this. Most all of my dental friends and practitioners, and I think really most business owners, know how to do what they do. They know how to do the dentistry. They know how to do the whatever. Most don't know how to actually build a team, a winning team. And so I look at it from the lens of like sports recruiters, sports managers. How do we actually build a team? And number one, and number two, if we're building a team, if dentistry is a team sport, and I believe that it is, then where does it start? And I'm going to back into it. Starts with vision and values of what that particular team is supposed to look like, feel like, sound like, work like. But it also starts with the individual player. So for me, that is who and how are we recruiting? And then once we've recruited them and we've put them on our team, it's like baseball. They don't just say, we're going to recruit this pitcher from wherever. And then we're like, hope he pitches.
Throw him to the wolves, right?
Yeah.
Hope he can. No, they continue to train. They continue to work with that pitcher. They continue to go through. They continue to practice. They continue to have all the outfielders and the first and second and third baseman working with the pitchers also, so that they are all calibrated, right, and working well. That's one piece of it. And that's something that we just don't do well in dentistry, not on a continuous basis, not for the team or the auxiliary supporting team around the dentist. And then it's looking at what are the character qualities of a player. And does everybody on the team actually know how to play as a team? And for me, it was an awakening really back in 2020 when I was watching a lot of my clients and teams struggle really hard during the COVID shutdown and others rise up. And I thought, what is going on? And it occurred to me through lots of trial and error and 30 days of sitting in a corner from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. every night on Zoom calls like this, that not everybody knows how to actually play on a team.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And that might have included me, including when I was on teams and leading and running dental practices. Because for me, I'd never played a team sport. I'd never done anything like that. And you can't just, but I had been under this impression that I could just work with any team. I could just take any group of people together and that makes them a team. And now I can teach them how to trust each other and communicate and have a good culture. And that's going to make them a winning team. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
If it was true, every team in sports would be winning all the time, but they're not.
They're not.
And so for me, I said, does Geri know how to be a team player?
What was the answer to that?
No, I didn't, because the answer was this. I knew how to work really hard. I knew how to be kick-ass at what I did. I knew how to get continuing education for myself. I knew how to make myself better, but I didn't necessarily relate that to how that worked with everybody else on my team, right? And then how to make everybody else better. And what did I need to be actually really good at? And what did I not need to be good at? And what other talent did I have around me, right? Like those first, second, and third basemen.
So what tools do you use when you recognize this within a team? Because it sounds like that's the fundamental thesis of how you go in and implement change, right?
Yeah.
So what are the tools that you use and how do you go about doing that? So interesting.
Yes. Well, I use a lot of different tools. I use behavioral and personality style assessments. Number one. Number two, I observe and watch.
To help everyone be cognizant of what they're like, what's their style?
Correct.
What's the style of my teammates around me?
Correct. What does that makeup look like of the team? Am I expecting everybody to be like me? Or am I looking around and going, oh no,
yes,
there's all kinds of different people on this team.
Everyone is going to be like me.
If everyone on a dental team was like Cameron, we would all be massively screwed.
Yes. Yeah. We used to, on my team and my teams that I led always called it the world according to Geri or the world according to Jeannie. I'm like, yeah, well, it'd be a pretty good world. Hello.
Pretty good world. No, I tease, but
I'd get a lot of shit done if they're all
you
like
do
me.
Get a lot of shit done. That's absolutely true.
Sorry, Geri.
Sometimes you need translators and someone to tighten the leash a little bit.
Sorry, Geri. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's one tool. And so there's that awareness. And then, I'm looking for character qualities of an ideal team player. I'm looking for people who are humble, but not in I'm not good at this kind of way, but people who are like, I know what I'm good at, but let me know, like, I also know what I'm not good at, and then take a look at the team around me, right? Share and leverage and raise that up. I'm looking for people who are hungry, who want to learn, want to grow, want to be better, and not just to make themselves better, like maybe the Geri of old, but that want to be better for the team and help the team. And then people who are emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest missing component, because we can have all these other tools, but it's only one of the components. But if someone doesn't have the emotional intelligence to use those tools, be self-aware, all of those things, that's going to be harder to get them.
No, I think also Geri, in the setting, in the healthcare setting, I think that's fundamental too. That emotional intelligence,
Well, it seems that it should be, Cameron. Yeah. It's fundamental, but
I mean fundamental to be a good contributor. It should. Yeah.
It should.
I was agreeing with you.
Well, that is the benchmark for me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's that. Because I can teach the rest of the things for the most part. Right. If someone's willing and someone has the acumen, if they're willing to try and learn, I can work with that all day long if they are humble, hungry, and smart. EQ. If they have a good EQ, I can work with that all day.
Yeah, one of the tools we used in our practice was the Clifton Strength Finders, right? Yep. And we do this exercise. We repeat it every couple of years because sometimes there's new people on the team, and we go through the exercise of, imagine if we were all the same. Like if we were all quick start people that like wanted to get things done right away, and yet you stuck me on the phone trying to find somebody's insurance benefits, and I had to wait on hold for 45 minutes, I would be losing my mind. So it's these differences that we find in one another allows us to realize that, like, okay, we don't all have to be great at the same thing. I can be great at this. You can be great at this. You can be great at, and then yet together we perform really, really well as an office team.
Yes.
That's the key, right?
Yes. I think one through line for me over and over and over again, I even say it to myself every day, is stop expecting you from other people.
Cameron just retired, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
That's why I have an AI me.
Yeah. Well,
That's the one person we found that actually might work harder than Cameron.
Yeah.
The AI
Is
Cameron.
the AI a bot? Oh my gosh.
But
that's really good. I think that Geri, behavioral assessment, has there's there's been a wide variety. Have you used different versions? Like, do you use a different tool depending upon the type of practice, or do you have some defaults I'm just curious because obviously there's a wide array of those tests available.
Yep. So I have used probably most all of them, but I don't use all of them with teams.
Got it.
I use DISC.
Got it.
For a couple of reasons. One, it's simpler than most of the others. It's easier for people to remember and think about the styles, not only their styles, which is DISC, but also I attribute, like, I'll put like, use a bird analogy to like, what is a D style like? What is an I style like?
Sure.
And then they can remember those. And then most recently I was up in Canada, so I related it to every hockey position on the team. So I use that one, but I like any of them that are easy for teams to understand, people to answer, and used appropriately.
The strengths of teams and like the different personalities do make us stronger, but like there's even a more, I would consider an even baser level to that, and that's culture, right? And we've talked about that a little bit, but I'm transitioning to your second point, is that culture is not soft.
No.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Here's what I found. People think it's fluffy, right? If you say, we're going to work on culture, or I wrote a thing, we're going to talk about culture. It's about the culture. You got to have a good culture. Really, what does that mean?
Great.
Right?
What does that mean?
What is it? Right? It is and we can talk about that and I'll set that aside for just a second. But culture is like vision and values. It's who we are. It's not who we say we are. It's not what we say. It's not the little thing we put up on the wall, or I have a culture of this. No, truly, what is the culture in your practice? And I think it actually goes back to fundamental. It's just like ideal team player. It is fundamental that, because again, I could give you every tool possible. I could work with the team around their disc styles or whatever, and have them be ideal team players. But if your culture sucks, or if you have a culture of gossip, if you have a culture of whatever, if your culture sucks, none of those tools actually work well.
Right.
We talk a lot about culture in my practice, and we kind of define it as several things. But one is,
this doesn't surprise me.
Repeated. Being in Northern California, we sit in a circle, we sing Kumbaya,
right?
Drum circles.
We wear tie-dye shirts and talk about culture.
You wear shirts? Oh,
tie-dye.
Loincloths, only loincloths.
Exactly. Ivy leaves.
We sit outside around a tree
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
or a grapevine or something
super
that's protected.
Yes.
Super Tuesday. We do patient days with togas on. Toga Tuesday.
Toga Tuesdays.
But it's culture is repeated patterns of behavior is part of culture. Right. So we can talk about things and how we want them to be, but how is it actually happening on a daily basis, right? Repeated patterns of behavior, tolerance and accepted limits of behavior, right? How we treat each other, how we treat our patients, how we communicate, what's tolerated and what's not. And the entire team holding each other accountable to those things, right? And then from there, it kind of branches out, right? Yes. So for us, culture really sets the stage for everything else we do.
Correct. So, and that's exactly how I look at it as well. And I talk about it when I start to work with a practice. I always work with the doctor owner first. And they'll say, do you have a vision statement? Oh, yeah, I've done vision and culture work. Really? Let me see it. And then tell me about it. What does it mean to you? And then they can't even answer those questions because it was like, somebody told me to write this thing up and I did this thing and I come up with integrity and this and that. It's like, no. What does it mean to you, Michael? What does this look like to you? And what is it supposed to look like every single day? And what are those behaviors? So for me, that's core values, right? Core behaviors that have to be in place every single day and in everything we do. And then, Dr. Owner, give me specific examples of what that looks like in action. Because people can't be what they can't see. And if we're not actually also modeling it every single day or this whole holding people accountable to it, that means ourselves, right? Then then the culture is exactly whatever we're tolerating, right? I love that you said that, Michael, because it gets frustrating to me to work with a practice or to work with a team that says, our culture is this. We're a culture of excellence. We're a culture of whatever. We're, a culture of this. And I'm like, really? And yet you tolerate every single day this. And that is not in alignment with this.
All right. So give us your like a little practice coaching tip.
Do your values match your
performance?
Match your words?
Yeah. Do your values match your words?
And do your words match your actions?
There you go.
Correct.
That's it.
Correct.
Wonderful.
That's culture.
Well, my husband, Bob, makes fun of me. He'll say, what do you mean? What do you mean you're having them working on their vision and core values and their culture? He's like, can't you just go into their practice and know what the culture is? And I said, yes, but I'm working with them on what is it they want it to be. And then how do we then work and engineer that?
So that was where my question was going. So when you walk into a practice and you say, okay, this practice is suffering from not the culture that the practice wants it to be, even though they might have all these things they say.
This culture.
How do you start on that journey of correcting it?
I start by working with the doctor owner, and I make them read a book. I take them through the book called The Advantage, because I want them to really look at vision, values, and culture in a way that maybe they haven't looked at it before. And then I say, well, this is where we are now. So, and then I make them get really, really clear. Even if they say, oh, I've done this work before, I've had this, or I had a culture coach or whatever. I'm like, great, it's kind of like doing a new patient exam. It's like, it doesn't matter that I've been to 7 other periodontists. I'm now a new patient in your practice. So I make them go through and get really, really clear. And I think if you ask you've interviewed many of my clients, but if you ask them, they'll be like, I've never done work like that before. So I make the doctor owner or the ownership team get like really, really clear down to the nitty gritty. What does this look like? What is it supposed to look like? Okay, if this is what this is supposed to look, feel like, smell like, taste like every single day, doctor owner, what are you willing, like Michael said, to tolerate, not tolerate? What are the hills you're going to die on or not? Are you willing to hire, fire, change directions, change implant companies, do whatever it is to be in alignment with this? Because if the answer is not yes, then this is not actually your culture.
Your culture.
Yeah, because culture without vision and then execution.
Without execution.
Is a
or
billboard.
accountability.
Is a billboard.
It's like execution and accountability are the cornerstones to living your culture or your vision, right?
It's like a motivational poster.
Well,
it's
and
like,
then it's
what's
like-
in your bathroom? So yes, what's that poster in your bathroom?
Do not-
yeah.
I love how
Do
we're
it.
talking about my bathroom on the podcast, but that's
Yeah,
all right.
well, you got that
It's if
motivational
you're
poster
not
in
if
there.
you're not riding the wave of change, you might find yourself under it.
Correct. There you
Thank you.
go. And then for me, like the culture is actually, that's like the strong foundation, right? That's not soft. That is a strong foundation. That's
Incredible
what
bathroom
everything
art.
else gets built upon. So including every system, SOP, and then even systems for accountability. I think people struggle with accountability. So for me, when we're going to support the culture, the vision, the values, I want every operating system, including a system for accountability. Like, what's the process going to be? Whether it's peer-to-peer, whether it's leader to team, whatever, what's the process going to be, and how are we going to hold each other accountable to what
Awesome.
we want?
And I think the tough thing about all of this that we're discussing is that you don't necessarily always see an immediate return on investment, taking the time and energy to implement this stuff and to think it through and then sit as a team. And, as practitioners, as people whose business revolves around revenue stream from doing procedures, we have to take time away from doing that to implement a lot of this. And so before I did it, it was so short-sighted of me to not take the time to do these things. And then only when I became desperate, and you think I look like this now, you see me in a desperate state. It's 10 times scarier. And so finally, it was
How are we supposed to
desperation
take
led to
that? What
change.
did that even?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but
We're just
the
going to
reality
gloss
is
over
once
that
you
one.
do take the time
Yes.
and put the energy in and sow the seeds of culture and vision and implementation and all these things that we're talking about. So for the young practitioners out there, you know, a lot of times too, you've got these loans, you're trying to build a practice. It seems foolish to want to stop the wheel to, you know, try to implement a lot of this. And the earlier you do it, the more return you're going to get on it, for sure.
100%. And I think the saying of, you know, culture is soft, right, comes from the fact that most dental professionals, particularly specialists, spend all day reading, you know, dental journals, not reading business journals and studying business. And
Correct.
when you actually sit down and study business, culture is absolutely not soft. There is really good data and research out there that shows in the business world and how having a solid foundation of the culture you want within your business makes your life easier every day.
Well, I think both of you just said that. So Michael and you, Jason, I use a lot of data, a lot of statistics. If I could show you, Dr. Owner, you know, what the ROI on this would be, if I could show you, if you did stop that hamster wheel for, you know, whatever period of time that you needed to reset or set the culture and practice that you want to have, not the one you wish you had, but the one you want to have, like that, again, like a sports team. They build the team they want to have, they don't just are like, well, these players, I hope they get a home run. No, they are crafting it. They're working at it. That when you actually do that, I want to show you what the ROI looks like. If I could show you that data, if I can show you what that looks like, if I could show you what it looks like in the corporate world, what they do, how much time they spend, you know, and then I joke like, yeah, I want to be, you know, skinny too. But it's not going to happen if I'm just sitting here hoping and wishing, yelling at someone else for making the food that I'm going to eat that I shouldn't be, right? It's like, no, I got to put the time in and put the effort in.
So that's a good spot to start talking about our next topic on your list. The next topic on your list is the biggest stress in dentistry is not the dentistry, but it does not tell us what you think it is. So what is the biggest stress in dentistry?
I don't know. What is it for you all?
Well,
talking to dentists every day.
That's also mine, Cameron. But what is the dentist pain point every day?
You know what? That's a good point. I think the most common thing when we get together in groups of dentists is that they complain about their teams.
The people. Because peopling is hard. Peopling is hard even when you like to people.
I would like to stop for 1 second and be really clear. I am not complaining about my team if any of them are watching this. I'm just saying that happens the most when you put a group of dentists together. So, thanks,
that's
guys.
the number one question I will ask sometimes, Dr. Owner. If you could never have to deal with one thing in your practice ever again, what would it be? Oh, the team and all the drama, or the team and the whatever, right? Peopling is hard. So if we can, again, it goes, all of these things loop back together, right? When we are clear on who, what, how we want our practice to be, we lay that foundation, and that's the culture we continually nurture and support, the peopling becomes less stressful, right? Because we know then we're better equipped to people. But
and again, the culture, sorry, when the culture's right, because of that accountability and things like that, like, you know, when you don't have the gossip culture, when you don't have those negative things that are happening in the practice, it becomes easier to come to work every day.
Yeah.
For sure, right? You're not having to deal with those things. And listen, from marrying into and then trying to understand my own specialist husband, again, it comes down to also awareness, right? We couldn't be two polar opposites in style. I'm a high ID, like I'm going to get it done. I'm going to say it. I'm going to do the things. Let's go. And then I have some of that analytical side in there. Well, he's a periodontist. He's like very analytical, a little bit of D drive in there. You know, he has to pretend to be people-y because he also runs a study club and he's also about relationship. He has to be, right? And as a specialist, but what I also realized is how stressful, listen, when I first stepped into those shoes, how stressful all of that other stuff becomes and how distracting it is from the stuff that clinicians love to do. Like, no one's going to dental school and then on to specialty, especially to be like, boy, I really hope I get to deal with Susie being mad at Becky tomorrow. Like, no, nobody's doing that, right? So again, it goes back to, is dentistry a team sport? And if it is, let's build it like that. And let's surround my doctor owners with team who can manage and handle those things themselves for the most part. And let doctor owner carry the vision, carry the culture, or to be the chief reminding officer of that culture and that vision, and doing the dentistry and building relationships.
And again, I was having I forget who I was having this conversation with recently, but like dentistry trains us to not be a team player. Like, we go to the dental school, and when we're in dental school, we do everything ourselves because that's where we're graded and things. And then all of a sudden we get out into these practices, and now we're out here in these practices and we're like just supposed to like turn things over to team members. Right. And so we're used to doing it a particular way. We don't know how to coach people to do things the way we want them done. And in turn, we're just like, oh, give it to me. It's just easier if I do it. Give it to me. It's easier I do it. So we are our own worst enemies in this, that we don't give the empowerment to our teams. We don't know how to empower our teams. And once we learn how to do that, it's the most freeing thing.
Yeah. So delegation, training, and patience. Those three things, it's such a game changer. And as Jason said, I mean, you nailed it right on the head, man. You get out of school and you barely know how to do procedures. And what I've learned over time, making mistake after mistake, is it's not even necessarily about how good of a periodontist I am. It's about how smoothly things flow, how well things are communicated, what the warmth or feeling is when someone steps into our space, our home, for that 8 hours or 10 hours during the day. And we work on that consciously now. It almost pains me to think back to what it was like for me when I first started, and not knowing any of this, just kind of the blind leading the blind. And it led to some very difficult situations. I used to remember getting in my car, going to the office sometimes and just dreading the next 8 to 10 hours. And I could point at myself as the reason why. And then as things started to change and we started working towards studying how we affect change, now I feel so blessed. It's an honor and a privilege to be working with the group that I work with. And it frees me in so many ways to then be there for my patients. And it's this snowball effect that occurs. And people now comment on it. And that's how you know you're on the right track. And you also learn to protect it, right? Protecting that is also such an important, crucial piece to that puzzle, because we work so hard and diligently to build it and cultivate it and nourish it. And there are threats that can impose themselves throughout the way, right? So for example, as Geri mentioned, right? Are you willing to do what it takes to stick by and live the vision, right? If it's a team member that's constantly disruptive or going against the grain of what the fabric of the culture is, are you willing to make that hard decision and let that person go, right?
No matter how good they are. Maybe they're a really great chairside assistant. I see this a lot. Is they make your life as a surgeon amazing.
Yes.
Right? You think, I cannot possibly do this without that person, but that person is toxic to the rest of the thing. That's where it goes back to that culture. Are you saying really you live that culture, or do we tolerate Susie being a Budinsky and making everybody else's life miserable because she makes my life great at the chair?
And how many times have we heard that story, right? Is this person does so much, I just can't let them go. And it could be a he or a she.
I hear it all the time.
Yes. And I've lived that a few times. And what's happened is it usually always works out for the better of the practice, right? Because you don't know just how disruptive that person or team member has been.
But you got to realize that is the byproduct of giving that person all of that responsibility.
Exactly.
So like
very well said.
We're glazing over something that's really important here. And so
Yes.
most practices, and I talk about this a lot. Most practices start as a doctor and an admin, associate, auxiliary, some clinical, whatever, right? The pack of few. And then whomever up front is a high performer, so I just give her a whole, or whatever, usually him a whole bunch of stuff, and just more stuff and more stuff and more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. And then that person's like, oh, I need help. And so you're like, okay, get somebody. And so they grab somebody that's just like them and they hand her some stuff. And then it's like, hey, we got this together. We're cross-trained. Right. And there's no accountability between those two individuals. We've got each other's back. And so ultimately what happens is, and I hypothesize that there's some sort of formula that exists at some point, and it's a variant of either production or new patient volume or number of operatories or number of team members or some fuzzy version of all that.
Probably, I think it's probably
some fuzzy version of all that in which we hit this inflection point that you either as the doctor owner decide, do I want to get better and improve and keep growing, or do I allow myself to continue to have a couple high performers in my practice that got each other's back? And so culture is not a problem until that point. And once it hits that, then it's a real big problem, because now you've built all of your everything off this function of high performers, which is I've got these amazing people that can handle everything. And she knows what coffee I like. And I got my study club come up and she's got it covered, and all this shit happens. And so, but this isn't just in dentistry. This is in all specialty, right? Specialty. And when I say specialty, I mean everybody that has a
business.
Everybody has a specialization.
Yes.
Everybody that has a specialization hands these things off so they can continue to do their specialization.
Yeah.
And then they get to that point and they have to have that look in the mirror conversation. And some people get to that point and they say, screw it. I'm just going to do $3 million of production. I'm going to work 4 days a week. I'm going to have my high performer who's going to retire with me. And we're going to cancel out that other person every 6 to 9 months or 12 months or 18 months, because I've got Betty who's been here for 25 years and she's not going anywhere, even though she's losing her mind.
Yeah. And so, that's where we have to protect those team members too, because A, they're the heartbeat of the office, but B, there's that tendency for them to either be given too much, that more than they can handle, ultimately because everything flows through them.
And they don't say no
because they love to do.
And in many cases, Sades, we often pay them more than market average to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah. And that's where we as the leaders need to protect those people, right? And protecting the team and the culture, just to finish my point, Cameron, that was a very good, important point you state. And it's not just protecting the high performers from too much work overload, et cetera, and putting all the eggs in one basket. It's also the one part of this equation, if we're talking about dental practices and in the healthcare field, the other key part of the team is the patients. And a lot of times, unfortunately, the team needs to be protected from the patients. We need to protect ourselves from the patients, because the way patients sometimes conduct themselves within the healthcare environment is often also outside the lines of our culture and values.
Correct. 100%.
So, as a business owner, sometimes it's real hard to stand in front of a patient and say, listen, you are acting inappropriately, or this isn't going to be tolerated because that's the source of the revenue. But big picture, you cannot be short-sighted. You need to see, and as the team sees that you protect them against outside forces that can affect that culture and those values, that too also fills into the self-fulfilling cycle of culture and the good feeling and things working smoothly, et cetera.
100%, man.
Absolutely. And I would add in there, Michael, that we're protecting team, protecting patients, again, holding the same boundaries, the same level of expectation, what we're going to tolerate and not tolerate from the patient base or our referral base and the relationships there. That's tough, right? As a specialist. But I'm always looking at all of these pieces, training up your team, not overloading, culture, vision as protecting the business that you own.
Yes,
for sure.
Totally agree.
That too, right? So that all goes together. There's a great book. It's an old book called The Peter Principle. We do it all the time.
What is that?
It's where we elevate people, the doers, the get shit doners, and we elevate the doers, and we keep giving them more things, like Cameron said, and or we elevate them to different roles. Well, you've been in a kick-ass, chairside assistant. You should be my practice manager.
Yeah.
Different skill sets, different things, but we don't then train them up, going all the way back to making sure,
that's our fault.
Our players are trained. Right. That's our fault.
That's our fault.
Listen, I had no business. There'll be times even now, like I think, oh, dear goodness, I had no business. I had no business running someone else's business. I had no business doing that. Right? You hope, doctor owners, that I knew what I was doing. And the truth is I did not. I'm kicking in. I'm doing stuff. I'm getting stuff done. I didn't always know, what I was doing.
And that's the thing is when we build all these systems correctly and we build all these things properly, a really well-run business can run without any particular individual.
Yeah.
Because the team is stronger than any one individual, right?
The best manager can sleep in the office, man.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Right. Correct. Yeah, it's true.
What did you say, Cameron?
The best manager could sleep in the office, like during work hours.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
If they're really a good manager, they can just take a nap for 8 hours, right?
Sada's like, wait.
If you've trained up your team around
Like,
being delegated to the right people, the right thing.
We're not advocating this. Let's be real clear here, guys. We're not advocating this, but we're saying it's a saying, right?
I will say this. So, Suyas, as I hear what you're saying, I struggle with one part of it, and that is, I look at the characters on my team, and they're all exceptional people, right? And so it would be hard for me to say that the team can operate just as well and smoothly, regardless of their attributes and character and work ethic.
I didn't say any of that.
So can you clarify? Because, like, for example, I know some of the players on your team, and there's some pretty friggin' amazing people, right?
Correct. But our systems, our training can build someone with the right mindset and attitude to be into that position with enough given time, right?
Thank you for
so
clarifying.
my goal is, like, for example, like Seda Perio, right? Can Seda Perio survive without Seda? When you get to that point that the answer is yes, that you could turn over your business to another periodontist, your team would literally train that periodontist to do the things that you currently do. That's the concept, right? Like a well-run business survives even the loss of, like, the founder. Like, my goal is to not be needed in my practice. Like, I want to be the least important person in my practice.
Yes.
So
next level.
Next level. And you know what creates that freedom? Systems.
Referral lab?
Referral lab. Referral lab and referral lab systems.
Referral lab creates that freedom. No, Jerry's last topic.
Who's got the button?
Cam's got the button.
It's on the other.
It's on the other software.
I can't hit the.
Jerry, we've got
referral lab. That's what it is. Yes. He has like a sound bite that he sometimes gets to play, but it's on the other software.
That's too bad.
What's the what's
Jerry's
the
topic?
The Turing quote: "A bad system beats a good person any day."
Yep.
No, a good wait, what?
Yeah, it's Turing.
Even a bad system beats a high performer, basically.
Got it.
Right. Or I like to say, like, show me
the money.
Most of the time, show me the money.
Show me the money. Jerry Maguire.
Jerry, exactly. Show me the money. When people say, oh, Susie Q is not this or something not that, or they're just not getting this, I'm like, show me the system. Because 85% of poor performance is actually not the human.
Correct.
It's the system.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the training. So.
Yep. Totally true. So let's talk about systems. How do they create freedom?
Because that's the next item on your
list. That's your last item on your list.
My last item was
Where's
successful practices protect energy of the leader. That's what I have.
Where's the Mel Gibson soundbite?
Mine says systems create freedom.
Freedom.
We just talked about that one. Didn't we? We were talking about
No, the biggest stress in dentistry was not the dentistry.
Oh, I don't know.
What did you? well, we can change here on the fly.
Yeah.
What would you like the last topic to be?
Create freedom, right?
Ready?
Not restriction, and that is how I look at them. You guys are incorrigible, really.
We're recording here, yo.
This is fun.
This is fun.
No, I'm super all about systems and systematizing as much as possible, and
Okay.
not to look at it like restriction, but truly it is freedom. And for me, it is freedom for my team to have hands out, eyes up, connecting with the people that are coming and going and connecting with their teammates. It is things that we don't have to think about. So as much as we can systemize and have replicatable, consistent systems, that we're going to have those. And they have to be custom to support the vision, values, culture that you want for your practice.
When you say systems are freedom or create freedom, how, when we're telling somebody, well, this is how we want you to do something. Like, so someone new comes into our practice and they're like, here's the process for how we direct where the routing slip goes or something like that, right?
Okay.
How does that lead to freedom?
When I know the expectation and the process, let's just go on the assumption first that it's actually a good system and process, right? Then I'm not as worried moment to moment if I'm going to make a mistake or, drop the ball, if I'm able to follow and know and get trained on how we do this here. I can get distracted. Maybe one of my teammates or team members or a patient can talk to me, but I know if I'm following this process and system, I'm probably not likely to make a mistake, especially if there's a checklist accompanied with it.
Yes.
Or maybe this is more helpful. When I'm introducing the concept, and honestly, this is, we'll talk about when you grow up your team around you to do the things that they're really good at. I'm a rule follower for the most part, unless I think the rule is stupid. And then I'm like, oh, I don't think we need to follow that rule. But
what rules do you think are stupid?
There are some things that I like icing in hockey. I think this is a really stupid thing, but that's a whole other conversation. When I'm teaching the concept of systems, and I do lots of different things to help people look and realize, wow, if we had a system for this, that would have been a lot easier. But I look at it like bumpers on a bowling alley. I don't know if we have any bowlers listening or on here.
Probably not, Geri.
Is that still a thing?
Probably not.
It is a thing. I went not too long ago. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like.
Tell me you grew up in the 80s without telling me you grew up in the 80s.
Like bowling.
If we have any bowlers listening.
I grew up in the 80s, Geri. Did you crimp your hair, Geri? People want to know.
Hell yes.
I did not crimp. No
not
crimping.
only did Geri crimp her hair, Suya's crimped his hair.
I didn't have to. It's naturally curly.
No, crimpy.
Okay.
Crimpy.
Like a Greek god.
But I say it's like bumpers on a bowling alley.
Did you bowl shirtless?
That's directed at Suyas, Geri.
Yeah,
no, it's not directed. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Wrong show
Jerry.
for that.
Just to clarify. Okay, we are now off the rails.
Now we are
Where
off
are the
the rails.
bumpers?
I was like envisioning
bumpers,
Suyas
Geri.
with his chain and his hair out, bowling.
Right there. That's right.
I don't think you're allowed to bowl without your shirt.
I don't know. That's.
Okay, well, listen, but let's think about.
He grew up in Iowa, man.
Bowling
Like,
alley.
come on.
Yeah. A system for me is like bumpers on the bowling alley.
Yeah.
What is the point of throwing the ball down the lane?
To hit the pins.
To hit the pins, right? And what we don't want is it to go in the gutter. What we don't want is it to go into somebody else's lane and hurt somebody else. If we know that with this system, whatever it is meant to hit those pins at the end. And these are the guardrails on that system. That means you can bounce the ball down, you can throw it really fast, you can push it and it goes really, really slow, as long as it gets down the lane and we don't hurt and go outside of the boundaries in the process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes we're going to evaluate, and maybe somebody new comes in and they're getting trained. It's not about constraint, except when we're training in the beginning, it's like, yeah, for the first 3 months, Geri, I want you to do it like this. And honestly, I use that when I'm coaching. There are some things that I say, no, this is your practice, and you all have to live here and do this work. But for the first 3 months of this, I'm going to ask you to try it my way, or I'm going to ask you to do it like this. And then you start to find that doesn't actually work for us because we do A, B, and C differently, or that doesn't actually work for us, or a new set of eyes, a new set of ears, a new style of human comes in and says, have you ever thought about, removing one of those guardrails? Oh, no, I don't, right? So I want to systemize as much as possible, but not as a restriction, as a freedom to actually be present in living vision values.
And it's also an opportunity for guidance without having to guide, right? So, where systems come into play for us the most often these days, I mean, we have a ton. And what I've learned in the healthcare setting is there is an infinite number of things that go on in any healthcare business, right? Any practice, the clinical, the business side, HR, whatnot. And so it's impossible to account for all of those things and have a system for all of them immediately from the beginning. However, with a culture of systems implementation, as things come up and we have pain points, what I've learned is rather than anger and frustration setting in for me, my immediate reaction to that is, what was the system? Do we have one or not? And if we don't, what system do we need to put in place to not allow this to happen again? Right. And everyone jumps in and kind of speaks to what their part of, or what their role play is contributing to the scenario. We come up with a system, it's implemented, pain point removed. Right. So, part of a systems culture, if you will, to kind of wrap it all together, to have a culture of systems is a huge part of it as well.
Yeah.
And I'll just,
for me, it's freedom, right? And I think of it this way. Like,
is he leaving?
And Sada's out. He's left. He's left the building. I was just going to tell him too. I was going to give him a nice compliment before he left. Yeah. But what Michael too, I think a big part of that is if I'm not involved in the system, I don't really need to have as much of a say as the doc, right? Like my team's the one who has to live it. I want them to come up with the solution and the system of what works best. Here's what we're trying to accomplish. I set this is what we want to make happen, but it's up to them to figure out how do we do that best in our practice.
And I like to have systems and a system, playbook essentially. And I always say so any Lucy or any Geri could come in and fill in for just about anybody on the team, not clinically, but let's think on the administrative side. And in a very short period of time, if we have well-written, documented, visual, like what all checklists, systems in place, I could sit down and schedule patients for you in a very short period of time. I could sit down and answer the phone in a very short period of time versus, I don't know. I've never done this before. Well, how does Geri do it? I don't know.
Absolutely.
What else is there to say?
That brings us to the wrap of that was an awesome episode.
You didn't ask me number 5.
Well, we don't see number 5 on the list.
I don't see 5 on the list.
That was the last one on my list.
Really? It says most successful practices protect the energy of the leader.
Ooh, this is a good topic though. We should do it. Let's hit it. Yeah,
let's go. So Geri, what do you have to say about it?
Well, it goes back to building, it's like a sports team. And for me, it goes back to one of basically my mission statement, which is build a team so strong you don't know who the boss is.
Awesome.
And how do we do that? It's all of the things that we've been talking about this evening, right? It's understanding, being super clear about our vision, core values, the culture that we want to have, and then actually living that every single day. It's training up people. It's training up our team. It's training up ourselves to be better and healthier leaders, and delegating and using the gifts of our team. And I didn't always know that or understand that. I wanted kick-ass people on my team. I wanted to be a kick-ass person on a team. And maybe I'll close it with this, or you can ask me more questions on it. But 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I hosted a training with my own coach. I have a coach, and she is a coach.
That's so meta.
I know, right? I do. It's like, yeah. So I have a coach. She coaches trainers. She's like a train the trainer. She coaches how to coach. And I brought my entire team to Palm Springs, where I live. And it also invited 2 potential GG practice coaching hires that want to be coaches. And we did a 2-day workshop. I've taken just about every workshop with my coach and trainer multiple times. And I was sitting, she was at the head, we were at the, had a big conference table. She was at the head of the conference table and I was at the other head of the other side of the conference table. And my team and the other two were all around. And it was the end of day 2. And this is not to pat myself on the back, but it was like what is possible and the freedom that comes when you build a team so strong you don't know who the boss is. When, like you said, Jason, when it no longer depends on you for that practice and culture and life to continue.
Mm-hmm.
End of day 2, everybody's going around sharing their takeaways. What are they committing to? You know, those sorts of things. And I'm listening to all of it. And she turns and she looked at me and she says, and Geri, what about you? And like, I had like a little out of body experience because I stood up and stepped out of my chair and I pushed my chair in. And I said, well, I mean, I have a few new tools and some things I remembered that I hadn't been doing of late. But the biggest takeaway for me is that when you actually practice what you preach and teach and say you want and is true, this group of humans doing the work that they're doing is what's possible. And she said, and what does that mean for you? And it was just such a weird thing. I took a step back from that chair. And it says, it means that I, as the founder, get to step back and let a lot of the real coaching and other work is happening here so that I can now move into either a different role in my company or lean into more the role of founder or CEO and use the gifts that I have, which are, I'm the idea person and the wonderer person. And I'm constantly like, what else should we be doing now? What's next for us? What's the next level of growth? Or as my team calls it, Geri, your genius is the gift of wonder and invention. And they said, and most of us just want to get the shit done. So you're going to have to wonder the shit out of this business, Geri, for us. And then they all burst into tears and they said, yes, because we can do this without me. Because let's face it, like I can't do this forever, but I don't want GG practice coaching, and it can be called anything else, to stop being. I want someone else to take it and run with it and make it theirs. But if I'm just holding on and doing all of the pieces and all of the things and thinking I'm the only one just because it's my name, then I'm trapped by all of that. Where to me, it was just that complete freedom. And I burst into tears too, but it was just like, oh, yeah, that's good.
That's a wonderful way to talk about, like protecting the energy of the leader, right? Like,
Yes.
and allowing them the creative freedom to do the things they needed to do to get the company there in the first place.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sue, you still have to do gum surgery.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man.
And like 2 of them came with me to Saskatoon, and then we spent a day working. We took a detour to Vegas on our way home, and they told me, this is what you need to do next, Gigi, because until you do that, this thing that they're saying I need to do, you're actually holding us all down. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
right, but I've built that. I've allowed that. That is part of my culture. You can talk to me and share those things with me. And I said, you're absolutely right. And I'm not going to hold them down. I've already watched them fly. I'm not going to clip their wings and hold them down because and sometimes it's us, leader, owner, doctor, owner, that is holding back from what we actually want to have and the culture and the vision and the team that we want to have.
Awesome.
Wow. What a way to end an amazing
Yes.
episode, Geri. Thank
Bravo.
you so much for all your insights. This was a wonderful episode. I can't wait for everybody to see this. This is absolutely fantastic.
Well, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for your
Thank you,
patience.
Geri.
I'm sorry, my computer did not like your high-tech.
It was great. It was great.
company.
Thanks for your
Great episode.
contribution.
Thank you again for tuning in to The Specialists. Thanks for listening to The Specialists, presented by Referral Lab, the podcast for dentists and dental specialists, featuring a special list from a specialist. Got a question for us? Send us a message at specialists.com with 2 L's. Transform your referral workflow with Referral Lab, the purpose-built platform for dental specialists to track, manage, and convert every referral. Request a demo at referrallab.io.